After being saved by Kibito after his fight with Majin Buu, Supreme Kai took Gohan to the sacred world of the Kais. Believing in Gohan's great potential, he was brought forth before the legendary Z-Sword, a sacred artifact to the Kaioshin that was lodged into the ground for 15 generations. And for 15 generations, no Kaioshin has ever been able to remove the Z-Sword, predating the attack on the Kaioshin realm by Bibidi and Majin Buu, and even the battle with Moro 5 million years prior to that, where the Grand Supreme Kai used up the majority of his godly power to lock away Moro's magic and imprison him for 10 million years. But what kind of power did the Z-Sword really have? Would it be able to deal permanent damage to Majin Buu and his magic and regenerating body? Or would it be able to kill immortal beings or even erase evil? Well, not exactly. In his natural state, Gohan attempted to free the Z-Sword, but unfortunately he failed miserably. Whatever it was that kept the Z-Sword lodged in the ground was too much for him to overcome in his natural state. After being mocked and repeatedly doubted by Kibito, Gohan reminded him and the Supreme Kai why they should never underestimate the power of a Saiyan.
The Z-Sword is free!
With his Super Saiyan strength now increased by 50 times, Gohan was able to free the Z-Sword, finding it to be extremely heavy despite how strong he and the other Z-Fighters were at the time. But Gohan didn't automatically become stronger either. With the Supreme Kai's help, Gohan's goal was now to master the Z-Sword, to control its weight and strengthen his body. With that, maybe he would be able to unlock the power necessary to defeat Majin Buu. This thing was so disgustingly heavy that not even the Kaioshin, beings who were strong enough to one-shot Frieza back on Namek, couldn't even get it to budge. After more or less mastering the Z-Sword, it was time to test out its sharpness. With the help of his father Goku, Gohan was able to test out the blade on a large boulder, easily slicing it in half. Supreme Kai decides to step it up a notch and creates a large block of Kachin, the strongest metal in the universe. And boy, did that live up to its name. The Kachin proved too strong, and the legendary blade snapped right in half, becoming the Z-Dagger, according to Gohan. The sword, rumored to be able to grant the wielder limitless power, turned out to be nothing more than an overrated legend. A heavy sword with nothing special about it. Or at least, that's what we thought. Upon breaking the Z-Sword, the ancient Elder Kaioshin was freed, and according to him, he was sealed away by a villain who feared a special ability of his. In Battle of Gods, we learned that it was actually Beerus, the god of destruction, that had sealed away the Elder Kaioshin. Every 1,000 years, there's a coordination meeting between the Kaioshin and the Hakaishin, aka the gods of destruction. After an argument, Beerus sealed away Elder Kai within the Z-Sword, where he remained for 15 generations. Elder Kai has the ability to draw out someone's potential beyond their limits, just like what Guru, or Saichoro, was able to do for Gohan, Krillin, and Dende, but think of that on steroids. Elder Kai released Gohan's inner potential, which granted him incredible power, even greater than Majin Buu's at the time. So, in a way, the legend of the Z-Sword wasn't completely false. The power trapped within the Z-Sword did grant Gohan incredible power. It's just that the sword itself didn't grant him power, rather than the elderly Kaioshin who was trapped inside. In the future timeline, Trunks actually meets Supreme Kai and Kibito and trains with them in order to stop Babidi and Dabura before they could revive Majin Buu. Unlike Gohan, in the main timeline, he didn't break the Z-Sword before getting to use it. Instead, he actually takes it with him and uses it in battle against Dabura in a really epic fight. Dabura uses his magical spit and turns the Z-Sword into stone, and this kills the Elder Kai when it is later shattered, as though he himself was actually turned into stone, and then he crumbles and is incinerated by Dabura. This is why we do not see Elder Kaioshin in future Trunks' timeline. He was killed during the battle. The power of the Z-Sword was not the sword itself. It was the power of Elder Kaioshin and his ability to draw out a person's potential beyond their limits. Gohan is the proof of this. After his potential is unleashed, Gohan became the strongest being on Earth. He arrived in an unforgettable fashion that left Piccolo and even us fans flabbergasted before delivering one of the hardest lines of all time.
Fight you? No, I want to kill you.
Gohan's power had surpassed anything we had ever seen up to that point, going from the likes of Frieza to Cell to Dabura to Fat Buu to Evil Buu and now Super Buu. Many fans believe Gohan was also known as the strongest unfused character. But why is that important though? This isn't a video about power scaling, right? Well, it's important because none of that's possible without the power that was contained inside of the Z-Sword. That's it. We're done, right? I'm not so sure about that. After the defeat of Majin Buu, Gohan slacked off on his training and lost his fighting spirit. His former strength was out of his reach for a long time until those he cared about started to get hurt. After a long time, and especially long time for us fans, Gohan finally regained his fighting spirit and reached new heights. Gohan began to take his training seriously and even regained his fighting spirit, so much so that he was able to participate in the Tournament of Power, where the strongest mortals in the multiverse gathered together for an epic battle royale, where Gohan more than proved himself and even gained the respect of the God of Destruction Beerus. Years later, we finally reached Dragon Ball Super Superhero, where Gohan's potential released by the Elder Kaioshin, who was contained in the Z-Sword, reached a level none of us could have possibly imagined. Gohan Beast. What seems to be an evolution or extension of Gohan's ultimate form, though we haven't gotten a clear explanation as to what it is exactly. Gohan's new transformation, fueled by rage, gave him immense and overwhelming power that is now even in conversation of being the strongest mortal in Universe 7, defeating Cell Max, and later after some level of training with Piccolo so that he could transform at will, he was able to hold his own against perfected Ultra Instinct Goku and controlled Super Saiyan Broly. What was it again that Supreme Kai and Kibito said? That the one who draws the Z-Sword would be granted incredible power. So even though the Z-Sword itself wasn't powerful, it did, however, grant the one who was able to free it unimaginable power. So in the end, there was some truth to the legend of the sacred relic of the Kaioshin. That's all I have for you today, guys. Thank you for listening and watching. Like and subscribe, it really helps me out, and I will catch you next time. Take care.